Well, welcome back, my friends. This is episode 36 for Our Baseball Journey, the story of my wife Carol and my visits to all 30 major league ballparks that were in operation over the period of our visits, and a few obsolete ones too. This episode is going to take us to the 30th ballpark, the final one that we had to visit in order to tick all 30 off. It won't be the final episode, though, and at the very conclusion of what I suspect will be a busy commentary here on this visit, I'll explain the two additional episodes that are in store. But first, as I always do, let's talk a minute about my garb. We just came from Houston, where we saw the Blue Jays and the Astros. Well, the Astros, or Carol and I, paralleled our journey to get from Houston to Dallas so that we could see the Texas Rangers. Because the Astros, as my cap indicates, again, were playing the Texas Rangers. Now, the Texas Rangers had a player that I needed to get a t-shirt for, and sure enough, I found it. Here you can see that t-shirt. It's of Jacob deGrom, number 48. As many of you know, Jacob was a Met for some time, quite a dominant pitching force. And I'm pleased to say that at least in 2025, Jacob is having a better season. He's off to a good start. He's 4-2. He's had a boatload of strikeouts, and he's looking good over the last 5 games. So I'm pleased that Jacob's having a productive early 2025 here with the Rangers. Now, the second thing that I want to tell you about is I want you I want to refresh your memory about our journey. And I figured rather than showing you this in a small image before I got into the slide for our visit to the Rangers, that I would bring up the full-size map that I squished down for the slide on the Minute Maid Park visit. This was our longest road trip. We visited quite a few states. I talked to you about that last time. And last time we got you from our home in Wyomissing to New Orleans, and then eventually to Houston with a stop at Huntsville and Bristol, Tennessee along the way. We start this episode in Arlington, Texas, and we did that in part because of a significant event that was taking place during the time that we planned to be in the Dallas area. And we'll talk about that shortly. Following our visit to Arlington, we then drove on our way home a little bit further north than we did on the way home. So this looks like a lasso of sorts. We stopped in Branson, Missouri after going through Indian country, a little bit of a detour through Arkansas. We stopped in Branson. We then drove to Louisville, Kentucky, where, among other things, we saw a museum that we'll highlight briefly in this episode. And then we drove on to a resort, the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, where we had a chance to celebrate my 70th birthday. So all of that was a wonderful trip. And this shows the distance, this shows the time frame, this shows our stops. And here's the 23 states that we went through, but just 16 of them were unique. Now, I want to get you to the slide. I want to make the slide as big as possible, and I want to move me so that I'm not obstructing some of the pictures we're going to talk about. This is a very busy slide, and I'm both sorry about that, but I'm proud to include all of these pictures because we really had a wonderful journey, and this commemorates some of that. I probably crammed more pictures in here than you'll fully be able to appreciate, but nonetheless, here we go. So before we get to the game, this first bullet does nothing more than just highlight what I just told you. Our stops leaving Dallas were Branson, Missouri, Louisville, Kentucky, and then Greenbrier, West Virginia for our longest road trip that we took in any of our visits to these ballparks. Now, we chose to stay close to both Globe Life, which is, let's see, you're on here someplace. Yep, here is Globe Life. Globe Life, we chose to stay in a hotel close to Globe Life, close to AT&T Stadium, Cowboy Stadium, and close also to the first Six Flags that was created any place in the US. So the one in Arlington is numero uno. And I think if we look, and it's very hard, we might be able to see some of the rides in this particular picture that I will talk briefly about when we get to talking about the event that caused us to schedule this trip at this time. So we stayed close to some of the attractions that we were interested in. Another thing that we did is I have a cousin, cousin Kim, and we had a chance to visit her. This is the picture of the three of us, my wife Carol, myself, and cousin Kim. We also invited Kim to go to the game with us, and she accepted. And here the three of us are as we are enjoying the game. And I'll talk a little bit about the game in a bit. Globe Life Stadium, the ballpark for the Rangers, came into being in 2020. And again, those of you who can think back to what was going on at that time know that we were in the thick of it with regard to COVID. And Globe Life had a distinction because that year it was used exclusively for both the NLCS and the World Series. The teams did not travel. They tried to create a bubble to try and mitigate any possible effects of COVID. So we stayed close to some of those major attractions, and we visited our cousin. Now, one of the things that happens about this time, April and May, is Texas and the Midwest can have some rather turbulent weather. And I will share two things with you here. This sign, our surname, Freestone, also is a county in this particular neck of the woods. Well, Carol and I looked up at the TV one day and there was a tornado warning for Freestone County. So indeed, kind of brought things back home. Okay. We also had a chance to tour Cowboy Stadium. That was quite enjoyable. Here is the green screen picture that was taken of Carol and myself as we toured AT&T Stadium. And here it is from the outside with one shot of our car there parked right in front of it during a not so busy day. So we had fun trying to check out Cowboy Stadium. We also picked up our final ice cream baseball cap, And as I already told you, a DeGrom t-shirt at the game. I think there is a picture. Yep, here it is. Kim took this of Carol and I enjoying the final ice cream that we had there because all those caps are going to come back. You'll see them in one of the remaining two episodes. Now, in this game, Houston wins, but they had been struggling early in the season. So coming in, they had many more losses than wins, and the Rangers had I think their World Series championship was in the prior year, was in 2023, and they had a strong record coming in. In this particular game, there were only 6 hits, and you can get to the box score when you go to the slides and just click on this region right here. There were only 6 hits in total at this game. And the pitcher for Houston who won, Ronel Blanco, he was the winning pitcher. He only gave up 2 of those 6 hits to the Rangers. So if you think about the 2 hits in this game, the game that he pitched immediately prior was the game one day prior to what we went to at Minute Maid, where he threw a no-hitter. So over these 2 games, he only gave up 2 hits, which is pretty impressive. Houston scored early in the game. They had a home run with 2 on. Jordan Alvarez, I think, hit the home run. Texas only scored 1 run, and that was in the 9th. They walked. There was a wild pitch, got the runner to second, and then there was a single that brought the run home. But that's all they could muster against the Astros, and the Rangers went down to defeat in this particular game. But as we did in many other cities, we did something very, very interesting. Now, I skipped over this. The whole reason we scheduled this trip when we scheduled it was so that we could be in the Dallas area for the total eclipse. It was very, very impressive and a moving experience, as this bullet says. If you'll recall, on the prior trip, the prior slide where we were getting to Houston, I practiced taking pictures so that I might have some decent ones of the eclipse. And my wife also helped take pictures as well. So as we were getting ready for the eclipse photography, there's a shot in the lower left corner, myself setting up my tripod, my camera, so that I would be set when the event occurred. And a funny thing happened. I was wearing my Fighting Phil's ball cap, which for those of you who know the minor league club, know that there's no indication in writing that indicates where that particular team is from. But as we were out and getting ready to take pictures of the eclipse, some of our friends in the same neck of the woods, close to us, said, "Hey, you're from the Reading area, Reading, Pennsylvania area." And I said, "Sure enough, we are." They were from York, which is maybe 50 miles away from where we live. So again, small world time, but this is us getting ready for the eclipse. When the eclipse was starting, there was a gentleman who was showing it on this plate. So he had the image coming so that you could view it safely on this plate. And here you can see the partial eclipse occurring. I mentioned during totality, it got dark. It got very, very dark. And you can see how dark it was here in this particular shot. This is like midday and it was bright and sunny here. Well, didn't take long for it to get very, very dark, and I'm sure our predecessors got very, very apprehensive when eclipses occurred, thinking this is not good. But you can see here a couple other shots that were taken of the eclipse. All in all, another significant event that Carol and myself could kind of tick off and say that we have experienced. And it was wonderful that we could get it and coordinate the two games that we wanted to in Houston and in Arlington. So I've told you about the game. Other things that we did that were fun in the Dallas area, we went to the Fort Worth Art Museum, and here is an image from that particular visit as well. Now let me collect and get us back by just summarizing the pictures that are kind of strewn around here from the baseball game. Of course, this is one of the ballpark. My background is my Zoom background is looking back to home plate as Carol and I got to the game early and waltzed around the ballpark trying to enjoy and find out a little bit more about what Globe Life was all about. Oh, by the way, the predecessor park to Globe Life was also called Globe Life. And now, given that the new ballpark is called Globe Life, the prior Globe Life Park is now called Choctaw Stadium. And you saw when we were on the map, we had the route through Oklahoma, including us going through Choctaw Nation. So we traveled home through some of the land set aside for the native indigenous folks. Okay, what else we have here for the park? I guess we don't have too much that I haven't already talked about. And so with that, I will move on. As we left Dallas, oh, I forgot, yes, the street, Nolan Ryan. I had to capture that. That was as we were leaving, it was dark. And I got that one because, of course, Nolan started his career as a Met. And as we toured Texas Stadium or whatever, we also found our way into the Texas cheerleaders locker room. And so we had a chance to experience both the players' locker room and the cheerleaders' locker room as well. Now, as we left, we went to our next stop, which was Branson, Missouri. And Branson, Missouri, it was just an overnight. So we got there in the mid-afternoon, late afternoon, and we had a chance then to at least take in parts of the Titanic Museum. And as this says, there was another Titanic museum that we came across as we were traveling from Cincinnati through the Smoky National Park on our way to Atlanta to see Turner Field. In Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where Dollywood is, they have yet another Titanic museum. Now, in Houston, we had a chance to eat at a Mallow Mushroom, which is a special place for gluten-free pizza, among other things. And there is a picture here someplace about that pizza place, but we had a chance to enjoy another one of those here in the Arlington area. No, I'm sorry. That we ate that in Branson, Missouri. So yes, as the bullet says, read the bullet, George. Right here. Okay, one of the highlights of this particular trip home, though, was stopping off after we cruised through St. Louis And you can see Carol took the picture of the arch through the window of our car. We stopped off in Louisville for a couple of attractions, one of which we only, I think, have one image for here because we're going to talk about it in the next episode for our baseball journey. This is a shot of Hank Aaron from the Louisville Slugger Museum and Manufacturing Facility. So more on that to come. But the other reason we wanted to stop off in Louisville is we were about 2 weeks in advance of the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. And we had a chance to see Churchill Downs, actually go out and be very, very close to the track, get a collection of great photos. And again, just as we did in other images, this road trip link is a link to more photos than you may want to see about this wonderful visit. But here you can see a picture of Churchill Downs. Where else? This, of course, is the icon for Churchill Downs. It's really a wonderful museum and tour that they offer. And this was the 2009 winner of the Kentucky Derby, Mind That Bird, right here. And here you can see a mint julep. We moved on after a very enjoyable set of days in Louisville. This is us eating on, I don't know, the 25th floor at a wonderful restaurant overlooking the, I think, Ohio River, right between the border of Ohio and Kentucky. Hopefully I got that right. But I think that takes care of all the photos for Louisville. And then we moved on to this place, which is a beautiful resort. It's the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. And we spent a number of days there eating very, very well. You can see evidence of that. Let's see, this is some lobster mac and cheese. And this only here have, we celebrated my 70th birthday there. And and we ate at a couple of different restaurants. They actually gave me a white chocolate cake on one day and a dark chocolate cake on the other day. But it was quite a lovely resort. We had a chance to walk around the grounds. This is the Sulphur Springs, I don't know, uh, building or whatever that is very close to the springs that were the reason there was some original interest in this particular area. This is one of the dining areas there. They have a culinary school there that we had a chance to tour. That was wonderful. And one other thing that this bullet indicates is there's also a bunker there. Well, what is this bunker? You can see it's kind of a hidden area uh, in the hotel or below the hotel. And what the bunker's purpose was, and it was supposedly secret for some time, was it was an evacuation place where Congress, all of Congress, could escape to in the event Washington, D.C. came under some kind of catastrophe. And there was enough facilities and food that would be able to support the 50 times 2 senators and then the 400 and some change, 35 or whatever representatives for an extended stay. And I say that this was a supposedly secret. As they constructed this, I'm sure it would have been hard to just throw the kind of the wool over the locals' eyes to have them not understand that something significant was going on. So, anyway, a lovely experience at Greenbrier Resort. And finally, I just want to call out this particular picture here. We spent 3 weeks on this trip, and so our 13-year-old cat or whatever, Hendrix, we name our cats after musical greats. He was boarded, and this was one of the pictures that they sent us midstream. Rounding out any pictures that I might have missed, this, of course, was from Louisville. That was a shot that was taken around that special horseshoe. This is an image of some very colorful garb that ladies were all done up in for the big event. This was another image from the Fort Worth Art Museum that we visited. Here's a bit of an icon for the celebrating the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. And at Globe Life, one of the things that they did was take a picture of a fan and then use animation software to create some of a, I don't know, a comic book type rendition of that particular fan. I think that may be it. So let me return to my Zoom background and suggest we have 2 episodes to go to complete our baseball journey. They are first a summary of some of the different museums that we went to. I highlighted just one briefly here, which was the Louisville Slugger Museum, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it includes Cooperstown, the Negroes League's baseball museum, the Ballpark Museum in Denver, for example. We'll talk about those things. And then the concluding episode to this journey will be a reflection slide. And that one will kind of summarize what Carol and I thought about this wonderful and very enjoyable set of trips that we took to visit all of the ballparks. Thanks again for your attention. Please come back to check out those final 2 episodes.